recognizing the relationship between fractions, decimals, and percentages.
Alright, so today we're going to use these to help us to understand how fractions, decimals, and percentages are all kind of related. Now these is a great resource. It's called 100 beads because we have exactly 100 of these beads. Now in terms of a fraction, what this all measures up to is the same as a whole. Alright, so we've got 100 beads here and this is our whole. Now in terms of a decimal, each of these little beads here count as 0.01. So this is 0.01, this is 0.02, 0.03, and so on all the way up to 1.0. In terms of a percentage, well, we've got 100 beads, so this is exactly 100%. Alright, so how does this help us to understand how fractions, decimals, and percentages are related? Well, firstly, we're going to start with something very simple. And we're going to split these beads into a half. Alright, so this is what a half looks like. So here we go. So here we go. I've split our 100 beads, or the whole, into half. How do we know it's half? Well, the denominator tells us that we need two equal groups. So here, as you can see, we've got exactly two equal groups here. I've got one group here, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they've split them into two equal groups. Now, here we can see that we've split into half, so the numerator says we only need one of those, so we ignore that part for now. How much is exactly half? Well, there we go. So we've got exactly half of our whole. Now we can relate that to a decimal, because if we imagine that we're looking for half of 1.0, well, how much is that? Well, all we'd have to do is count the number of beads here. Okay, so we'll go from 0.01, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04, 0.05, 0.06, 0.07, 0.08, 0.09, and 0.1. Alright, so we know that there's about 10 beads in each group, so that's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and 0.5. So we've got 0.5 So
there.
what does that mean? Well, that means half of 1.0 is the same as 0.5. What does that also mean in terms of a percentage? Well, half of 100% is the same as 0.5, and it's the same as 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50%. So we can see straight away how half is the same as 0.5, which is the same as 50%. Alright, so let's see what happens if we try to split the beads into a fifth. So we've split the beads here into a fifth. Alright, which means you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal groups. So if we were to say a fifth of 100, well, that would be the same as saying there is 20. Now, if we were to say, what's that as a decimal? Well, that's quite simple, because again, we can relate it back to using a fraction, and we take that 1/5 here, and we say, right, well, we've got 0.01 all the way up to 0.1, and we've got another 10 here, so that's the same as saying 0.2. So in fact, we could say 1/5 of 100 is 20, which is the same as 0.2. And as a percentage, because it's out of 100%, each bead counts as a 1%, remember? So that's 10, 20%. So we can see straight away 1/5 here, that one group there, is the same as saying 0.2, which is the same as saying it's 20%. So hopefully you can now start to see how, using these beads, fractions are actually the same as a decimal, which is the same as a percentage.